Well, good afternoon, good morning, good day from here on the East Coast to wherever you are located. I want to welcome you all to GPN's Exemplary Systems in Government Award Series. This is our last, but certainly not our least webinar where we're going to be highlighting our 2025 award winners. My name is Kristen Johnston. I'm going to be your moderator for today's session. Y'all are in for a treat because we are hearing from our distinguished enterprise system winner, the team at Midland, Texas, about their council dashboard. A couple of quick housekeeping items before we jump in. This session is being recorded and will be available on the GPN Learning Index in about 24 hours. We are going to have a few minutes at the end for questions and answers. So if you have a question, please put them in the Q&A box. We don't want them to get lost in the chat. So I'd like to welcome the team from Midland, Texas. We have with us today Richard Osuamkpe. He is the GIS manager and a strategic leader at the city. His background is in geoscience and location analytics. He bridges technical expertise with forward-thinking leadership to build more connected, data-informed cities. We also have Michael Boffa. He has a bachelor's degree in physical geography and has worked for the city for 2 years. He contributes to the city's ArcGIS Online, performing spatial analysis, meeting with stakeholders to support the GIS efforts across Midland. And we also have with us Robert Urton. He is a business intelligence developer with the city. He is a 2024 graduate in software engineering and works across the data engineering, full stack development, and automation to support the city operations. So I'd like to turn it over to the team from Midland, Texas.
Thank you, Kristen, for that warm introduction. First, I did like to thank the GPN EC committee for selecting the city of Midland for this award and for the opportunity to share our work with others in the geospatial community. It's truly an honor to be part of this webinar series and to share some of the work our GIS and IT teams have been doing. Now, as with most of, if not everything, GIS and geospatial field related, it usually starts with location, or at least revolves around it. So let's first orient ourselves and talk a little bit about where Midland is, really. Now, if you're not exactly sure where Midland, Texas is located, you're not alone. Midland isn't typically a vacation destination, at least not yet. It's an arid region in West Texas, but it does have an interesting history. The city, well, it was established back when two railroad companies decided they were going to start laying down tracks. One from the west and the other from the east, right about El Paso and the other down by Fort Worth. Where those two railroads met became known as Midway Station. In 1884, well, the name was changed to Midland, and the city was officially incorporated in 1906. Today, Midland is known as one of the nation's largest energy producing regions, and some may have recently heard of Midland from the television show called Landman, starring Billy Bob Thornton. Although the show is in, I'll say about 95% of the show is in shot in Midland, every now and then I get a glimpse of somewhere very familiar in Midland, and I can say, I know exactly where that is. Geographically, Midland is somewhat isolated, but strategically located, about 5 hours from El Paso to the west, Dallas-Fort Worth to the east, and San Antonio to the south. So nearby cities like Abilene, Lubbock, and San Angelo are about roughly 2.5 hours away. Midland is a city that continues to grow rapidly. The population in 2020 census was just over 132,000, and recent estimates place the population closer to 143,000 and growing. With that growth comes expanding, infrastructure development and increasing demand for better information and better decision making, which is really where GIS begins to play a very important role. So Before we talk about the council dashboard, it's important to understand the GIS environment at the City of Midland because the dashboard didn't just appear on its own. It came from an evolving GIS program and strong collaboration across departments. At the City of Midland, GIS operates as a centralized GIS program where it serves the entire organization. But our GIS division acts as pretty much a one-stop shop for mapping, applications, spatial data, and analysis, while also supporting a growing number of departmental GIS users. We support all city departments as well as the Midland County. And partners based off of an interlocal government agreement, such as the Midland County Appraisal District, MCAD, also Midland Emergency and Communication District, MECD, and the Permian Basin Metropolitan Organization, the MPO. And GIS is used across many areas, including utilities, planning, engineering, public safety, administration, and public information. And the list just goes on and on. Now, over time, the platform has grown to include more than 35 web maps, applications, and dashboards that support daily operations, public information, and internal decision making. While GIS is centrally managed for governance, really, data management and infrastructure, we are evolving towards a hybrid GIS model where departments are becoming more involved in GIS while the core GIS team manages the platform and all of its standards and governance and all of that. This environment, well, the centralized GIS, growing applications, and collaboration across departments ultimately created the foundation that made the council dashboard possible. Midland is, well, it is a city on the rise and a rapidly expanding population and infrastructure that requires careful planning, um, coordination, and management. This is where we come in, the GIS team. This growth really highlights the need for better ways to inform, engage, and, well, report critical information to our citizens, council members, and city departments. These are really exciting times because, not just with the inclusion of AI, but it is interesting because now we have the tools and technology to help municipalities make effective, real-time, data-driven decisions that truly benefit our communities. However, um, one of the challenges many or municipal GIS programs face is gaining full organizational buy-in. Many organizations start with departmental projects, and we're no different. We initially built dashboards and applications to support individual departments and operational needs. But over time, we realized that the real opportunity was not just supporting departments, it was supporting leadership and decision makers at the citywide level. Now, that shift in thinking changed everything. With leadership and support of our CIO, George Iskander, we began reimagining how we could bring information together in a way that would help leadership better understand what was happening across the city and support smarter decision making. Around the same time, our GIS program and data environment continued to grow. We started to notice a common challenge across the organization. The city had a lot of data. Departments were collecting information, tracking projects, managing assets, and monitoring operations. But that information existed in many different systems and departments. So when leadership or city council needed information, well, it often required staff to manually compile reports, gather spreadsheets, create maps, and prepare presentations. Now, this process took time, and the information was often static and quickly became outdated. There also wasn't a single place where leadership could go and see a high-level view of what was happening across the city. Things like development activities, infrastructure projects, service requests, growth trends, and operational metrics. So our challenge and the main challenge now became clear. The city didn't just need more data. we needed a better way to organize, present, and share information in a way that supported decision making. This is where the idea of the council dashboard began. Not just another dashboard, but as a tool to help leadership quickly understand what is happening across the city and support more informed decisions um, as as they reviewed um, things. Since we clearly understood the challenge, the next step now was to define what success would actually look like. We didn't approach this as just building another dashboard, but rather we approached it as a way of establishing a clear mandate for how information should be delivered to leadership going forward. First, we wanted to centralize access to key performance indicators. Leadership needed a single place where they would quickly understand what was happening across the city without having to piece together information from multiple sources. Second, we focused on delivering near real-time insights, not static reports, but information that reflects current conditions and also supports timely, informed decision-making across departments. And thirdly, we emphasized transparency and communication, not just internally between departments, but also in how information could be shared more effectively with stakeholders and the public. Together, these objectives, they became the foundation of the council dashboard, really. Not just a tool, but as a shift in how we approach data, visibility and decision making across the organization. Now, once we identified the need and the opportunity, well, the next step was to start defining what this dashboard should actually be and what problem it needed to solve. Um, well, I can tell you it took a lot of time. We began by first meeting with departments, leadership, and stakeholders to understand what information was most important to them. We also wanted to know what they were being asked for, what reports they were creating, and what information leadership needed on a regular basis. Um, Through the process, we identified key metrics, major projects, development activities, infrastructure information, service data, and other operational information that would be valuable at the leadership level. One of our main goals was to keep the dashboard simple, clear, and focused on higher level information, not an operational dashboard for staff, but rather something designed specifically for leadership and decision makers. This project also, became a strong collaboration between the GIS and the IT department. GIS handled the spatial data, mapping, and visualization components, while IT helped with data integration, dashboards, and system connections as well. Together, we pretty much developed a plan to build an integrated council dashboard that would bring information from multiple departments into one place and present it in a way that was easy to understand and useful for decision making. With the vision and goals defined, well, the next step was actually building the dashboard. Um, with the strategy defined now, we, at least the thought process was the focus shifted to execution. How do we actually build a system that brings all of this together in a scalable and sustainable way? That required strong alignment between GIS and IT, particularly on architecture, data flow, and system integration. Well, I'll hand it over to Robert to walk us through how all of that comes together from an IT perspective. Robert, over to you.
Yes, sir. So the ArcGIS dashboards were kind of the initial step of getting all of those created. After we had those dashboards handed over to us, we were able to embed them into our website, just C Sharp, Simple Blazor. It's a .NET application. And to power those, we would need to use our SQL on the back end with all the data that's been distributed. And we'd also load that into Power BI just to make this really strong platform for users to use. We made sure it was automated via nightly routines through various means, such as Windows schedulers and things like that. So the first phase of it all, from the IT side was the data collection. We found the key stakeholders and all that with the communications. But we needed to find the data itself. So the applications they were using, the softwares, how they stored it, what their processes were. So after we figured that out, we were able to go to the next step of it, and that would be collecting all of the data. It was distributed from any means, from being in a SharePoint, a JSON file, API in the web, just having to pull the data from statistics that the government has, like federal government, and then just databases that we have on premises. This would allow us, once we found it, to be able to use Power Automate and other tools to be able to have it extracted and pulled into our databases, so that it was in one central hub before we would transform it for them. So then we'd have one key source of knowledge, and this would allow us to have one standard environment, so we weren't having to worry about like translations and things like that for the data. The next one was automation, making sure that we found the data and were able to pull it once. Getting the databases set up was getting the pipelines actually automated. So we'd use things along the lines of Power Automate, GitLab CI/CD pipelines for so that'd be scheduled with the cron job, and just things along those lines to pull the data from all of the different departments into Power BI SQL. We then transformed the data, making sure that it was clean, well used, and then we'd use a SSIS job to transfer it over from our core database over to theirs in a way that they could use it, and making sure it was clean and at the rate and interval that they needed. So the next step was the web platform. That was C# and Blazor. We hosted it locally on our own server, on a Windows server. We used IIS, which is a way that we host .NET, and then we were able to develop it. We had everything kind of referenced in, so we had the how you publish them to web with Power BI reports and ArcGIS maps. We would make sure that we could embed it, and then we had it displayed in an iframe, and everything was real compartmental. So if anything ever updated, we didn't have to update a whole bunch of the code, just little aspects of it as things grew and went on. We also made it so things could be embedded, like images and things like that, with dynamics. So it would slowly, like, let's say we had an image every month. After 3 months, the images would get put into an archive, so it wasn't being displayed with a ton of images and things like that. We also had authentication and things like that, where if you're on premises, then you'll be able to have free access to it. So that way, people on external and outside of the network don't have access to sensitive data as we slowly progress it to being ready to transfer to the next phases. The final delivery was combining all of that. So we had the data. So once we were provided the ArcGIS maps and the Power BI reports that we built and kind of had set up so they would automate with gateways and things like that, so we didn't have to deal with it, or not deal with it, but regularly update it and maintain it. We'd have it so that it was business ready and ready for the end users to be able to just pull up at any given moment and have the most up-to-date data with timestamps and things like that, so that they'd know when it was last updated, so they could make um, key key decisions and know it was good.
Thanks, Robert.
Yes, sir.
So we've just discussed how we've gotten he discussed how we got GIS got their data, and that was through data integration. Basically, using the SSIS replication to our GIS server is simple. We just pull in it. It just simply puts a table into our database, and I can pull it directly into ArcGIS Pro. And you can see it has all the data fields that I need, except that it doesn't have any geocoding. It's not joined to our council districts. There's some other calculations we might need to run. So to do that, we had to do some automation. That way we don't do it every time we get a new project. This would involve spatial joins, geocodes through Model Builder instead of just doing it manually. So this is our model builder that we created for code enforcement, for example. You can see we do a geocode. We're spatial joining council districts. We're doing a selection query, and then we're calculating based on that query. Once we create our model and we're happy with it, using the model builder ribbon and Pro, we can do export to Python file. And what that looks like when you do it is it's an ArcPy script. You can open this up in Visual Studio Code. That's what we used. And if I know a lot of GIS professionals aren't programmers, so don't let this overwhelm you. All you have to do is set overwrite output to true. It's false by default. If you don't do that, it'll just create some issues. It won't run it. Um, we do a model builder and Osuamkpe script for every single dashboard or layer that we want in the dashboards. And to efficiently run them all, we create we call it a main geocode script, and it runs them sequentially, so one at a time, and then it logs it as well, so we can see where they succeed or fail. And if they do fail, it'll give us an error message, and also each individual geocoding script will actually have its own log file, which has more details that of what went wrong. And we run all this nightly with Task Scheduler on our server. It just runs Python and tells it to open the script and run that. Now that we have our data processed for all of our geospatial analysis that we wanted to do to them, we need to put them to ArcGIS Online so they can feed into the dashboards. Before we do any overriding, which I'm about to explain, you have to publish it first to ArcGIS Online manually. That way you can get your feature service item ID. You can get that from your content page. So what this script is doing for the overwrite now is it's logging into your ArcGIS Online account with the username and password. It's grabbing that FS item ID and telling it to replace that content and that ID with the file path that you give it. So in this case, it's saying replace an FS IMD with code cases. And just like the geocode main, we use the main overwrite script. This one actually runs concurrently. It can run all of them at once, so it runs in about 10 minutes. This is not doing any geoprocessing, so it'll run efficiently. And we make sure we run this like an hour after the geocodes finish. That way, just in case there's like a lag or something, nothing gets messed up. And just like everything else, we log it. We make sure that we're tracking things that are running properly, and they have their failures and successes, and we look into them every time that we see a failure. And we also run this nightly with Task Scheduler. Well, what does this all mean? Well, it allows us to visualize our dashboards and actually see high-end KPIs. So here's a couple examples from the council dashboard. We have our permits, crashes, demolitions, and also our C-Click Fix, which is our ticketing public ticketing system. So with all that work, we're able to see high-end analytics and KPIs, and it's updated every day. So we're making sure council members have the most up-to-date information. And with that, this is a good example of how IT and GIS can come together and create a powerful platform. All right, Richard, on to you again.
Thank you, Michael. Michael, like any project, that involves multiple systems, departments, and automation workflows, we definitely encounter challenges along the way. Well, too many to list right now. On the technical side, we ran into issues such as schema logs during concurrent access, automation script errors when overriding data, and challenges related to data synchronization across different systems. From a design and usability perspective, one of the biggest challenges was dashboard standardization. Um, as more departments wanted dashboards, we had to make sure they followed a consistent design. So users had a familiar experience across all dashboards. We also had to manage different user expectations and make sure the system could scale as more dashboards were added. From a collaboration and implementation standpoint, coordinating across multiple teams and systems was definitely a challenge. Integrating different data sources, applications, and workflows required strong coordination between GIS, IT, and the various departments we worked with. We also had to continuously work on performance optimization as the platform grew. Um, it's expanded and it's grown from the initial release, and yeah, it's quite tremendous now the amount of data we have going through the pipeline. Um, but overall, these challenges really helped us improve our workflows, strengthen collaboration between GIS and IT, and also build a more scalable and sustainable dashboard platform. Well, as we look ahead, we're currently working on a version 2 of the council dashboard. Once that is done, that will be made publicly available and would be hosted on our GIS hub. It's currently not there at the moment as we trying to walk through the kinks to optimize it to where we're comfortable prior to publishing it out. But as we look ahead, the council dashboard and the dashboards platform itself will definitely continue to grow and evolve. One of the main focus areas is improving data and system integration. We want to strengthen real-time data connections between city systems and also continue expanding automation so that the data workflow and the pipeline moves seamlessly and into dashboards without manual work at all. Another focus area is performance and scalability. As more departments and the initiatives they have added to the platform, we definitely are continuing to improve data processing, workflows, and dashboard performance to ensure the system remains reliable and scalable. But we're also meeting with them and doing assessments and reassessments as to their needs. That way, the dashboard is more optimized for just that. We also see a lot of opportunities for innovation. We want to continue using GIS and data integration to streamline operations, but also support planning efforts and eventually move towards more predictive and decision support tools. So ultimately, the goal is to continue to evolve this platform so that it supports not just reporting, but planning, forecasting, and strategic decision making across the organization. Well, to wrap everything up, that there are a few key takeaways from this. And from our experience building the Council Dashboard platform, first, GIS can be much more than mapping. When combined with data integration, dashboards, and automation, GIS, well, becomes a strategic tool that supports operations, planning, decision-making across the whole organization. Second, leadership buy-in is critical. For me, I feel like that's one of the bigger points. It's always trying to get that leadership buy-in. And we're not fully, I can't say we're fully there yet. It's a continuous process. That's something we're continuously working and building on. So one of the biggest turning points for our GIS program was when we began supporting leadership and city council directly. Executive dashboards help demonstrate really the value of GIS and helped us move towards a more enterprise approach. Third was collaboration, working together, the collaboration between GIS and IT. Well, that made this project entirely possible. Data integration, automation workflows, web development, and dashboards, they all require both teams working together to streamline it and get it optimized to where we wanted it being out there, the way we wanted it to help our users. Another important lesson is to think in terms of platforms, not individual projects. Instead of building one dashboard at a time, we really focused on building a dashboard platform that could grow and support the entire organization. And finally, our long-term goal is to keep evolving this dashboard from just from dashboards that simply report information to systems that help leadership understand trends. They can predict outcomes and also support better decision making. So that is ultimately where we see enterprise GIS and data integration going in the future. Well, as part of this project, we like getting feedback, which is something we do quite a bit. So, we wanted to get feedback from our council members to see what they thought about the product, the final product we pushed out. And we have a short video clip here that just shows what their evaluation was and the feedback we got from them. So we wanted to share that as well today. So go ahead, Michael.
So the council dashboard is a new revolutionary interactive tool that we have at the tip of our fingertips where we can pull information real time on traffic, crime statistics, we can see budgetary numbers.
Parks and utilities can be a part of this. You can see what parks are doing construction, what are they doing there, what are the future plans. And speaking of future plans, you can look at future plans for development in Midland, such as where is Costco going to be? When are we going to estimate that to be done? All of these questions can be answered on the dashboard.
The team does a fantastic job also with keeping that information up to date. So the information we know that we're giving our constituents is the best and most up-to-date information that we have.
I use it every day and it just saves me a ton of time myself. So a lot of times I'll go in the dashboard app myself if I have questions instead of just calling the city staff because it's fast and it's easy.
It's a great time to be a city councilman in the city of Midland, and tools like this definitely make our job just that much better. And so thank you to the team. Thank you for everybody that was involved in putting this together, because it truly is a revolutionary tool that I imagine that most people will be jumping on board with very quickly when they see how amazing it truly is.
All right. Well, Michael, I'll let you take the front stage and demo the dashboard and just walk through. That way, Moss can see what it looks like. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so we have our landing page here, Council Corner. We have it broken up by not really department, but more like public safety, roads, planning, development. So we can look at permits. So by default, they wanted to see 12. Usually, most of them are last 12 months by default. We can make it more granular, do this week. I'll do this month, for example. And they can see how many are in their actual council dashboards, how many permits, or sorry, how many in their council districts, I should say. They can see how many are issued, under review, types, right? Very fundamental dashboard stuff, but it's at their tip of their fingers. We can do roads, pothole repairs.
And this is
Street
directly
repairs.
tied into Cyclic Fix as well, right? Correct, Michael?
Yes.
Yeah.
These are street repairs. We have C-Click Fix, which is our ticketing system that the public uses to report anything that's broken or needs repair. We have our heat maps on. Right now it's going to show open by default. Utilities, it's going to pull in water utility data. And this is Power BI right here. We have our pipelines. By default, we're showing 30 years or older as the city works to upgrade. And then we have CIP as well. Airport statistics. Pretty much every single thing that they would need to see is on here. So that about sums it up, right, Richard?
Just about. I know Michael joined us not too long right after college a couple of years ago, and he worked on a couple projects, just like the PACS and the CIP project, especially the CIP. So, Michael, if you go back to the CIP dashboard, and these were projects that he worked in, and as the idea for the dashboard grew, we decided to start incorporating most of those in here as well. So you have individual dashboards, and these also are being updated as well. We're trying to pull in more data directly from financial enterprise system that will feed in here and make it easier for our finance department to able to see all of what they need to and see how all of that is changing as the projects are completed. These, like I said, these were all the aspects we build out on prior to incorporating them most of that into the dashboard itself. So we do have story maps in there as well. We use Experience Builder. We use the instant web apps as well. Whatever it is that Esri produced that shoots out that is available to us, we try and incorporate those to make it as seamless as possible. Another key aspect of this as well is, keeping that engagement going, the engagement aspect. So we just didn't want it to be a one-way communication style. We want it to be a two-way engagement. So things like Vision Midland, which is on here as well, we incorporated, we used tools like Survey 123. That way we can get feedback from our constituents as to what they're seeing. How are they wanting to see Midland develop in the future? And we can get those insights by incorporating those tools. So Michael, if you click on that way they can have a view of Survey 123 as to, it's just a basic one. We can elaborate it based off of what, at least this one is designed based off of how City Council needs information, and our Chief of Staff to help them better gauge how really, we use it in two ways. First is we use it as as an insight or ideas resource, and second, we use it to gauge the perception of our organization by us constituents. So it's playing more of a two-way communication aspect than just one, and in that way, we're better able to keep up to date as to getting feedback from the citizens as to the development and changes in Midland. Well, I think that's about it for us. Thank you so much. Kristen, back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll open it up for Q&A now.
Yes, and we do have some questions here. So if you haven't submitted your question, go ahead and drop that in the Q&A box, and we'll start here. So does the GIS team mostly utilize dashboards created with Power BI, or has the dashboards from Esri Enterprise been more applicable for your use cases?
Good question. Michael, go ahead.
For this specific project, we really utilize Power BI and ArcGIS dashboards. They're able to pull a lot more information than we can show, even in a GIS format, right? So not everything like the airport finance reports and things like that are in a GIS format. The crime bulletin reports aren't in a GIS format, and they can't be, at least not easily. So that's why we utilize both in this project. For on our geostation open data hub, I make a lot of the dashboards. Yeah, we utilize those a bunch, and we can show most of the analytics we need to show.
Yeah, the initial idea when we started, putting together a dashboard, we ran through different concepts. One of those was Esri's Performance Hub. That was the initial direction. We wanted to host everything on Esri's Performance Hub, but as things evolved, we're thinking more about scalability and feature expansion. So we definitely felt this, creating an in-house platform will be the best approach. Hence the reason we did that. And all we did was incorporate more of the dashboards, to help visualize analytics and all of that. And also we do have some web apps in there as well, to help showcase things that BI wouldn't otherwise be able to do, or at least not as effectively or efficiently as what an aspect of Esri would do. So we wanted to blend both aspects to where it wasn't just, heavily on one. But then again, like I said, that was more based on scalability planning. So hope that answers your question.
All right, our next one. What is the fail rate of the automation processes? Our attendee says that they regularly have issues with Power Automate and Task Scheduler. How long did it take you to get them working consistently?
Robert, I'll let you answer first for your side, and then I'll answer my side. I can't hear you, Robert.
Sorry about that. I would say that the fail rate is less about the automation tool itself, and it falls more along the lines of how well it's set up and monitored, and as its design goes, and its edges and or its edge cases and how it's hardened around that. So tools like Power Automate are very good for getting something done quick and easy, or if you need a live service, like something that's a trigger. So if somebody emails you, so one of them is based off of an email. So it's very good because it's a live service, it'll always be up. But as the workflow grows and it gets more complex, I find that it can start crumbling and having more areas where it will start failing. For critical processes, I prefer something like PowerShell or Python on a some kind of schedule because you can have better logging and things like that, so you can make sure to build it more robust. Recently, I found that I can have good results with something with like Python in a containerized environment, so something like Docker. So then you're not having to worry about the environment or different server variables or stuff like that. You know always what you're going to be dealing with, regardless of if you're on a Linux server or a Windows server. And then you can kind of build up the logs as it goes on, and you can have a better logging and process to kind of build upon it. And the fail rate for it currently for us is monitoring issues. We have it distributed across Windows servers because that's where this code is at. We don't have to worry about having to reach another server and worrying about cross-server connections. So let's say that somebody set it up the scripts to be on their like SQL account instead of a like runner account, one that's just made for that purpose, then it's likely to fail in that regard. So just making sure that we have them set up and configured properly from the very beginning and monitoring it so it just doesn't silently fail in the background is our kind of core area of failures.
For the GIS portion on our GIS server, we do get failures and they do happen. It definitely happened a lot more when we first started this. What the main reason is schema locks. So if it was we hosted all the data on a single data set inside of our production database, and anyone that has access, viewer access, can open those and look at the data, which was fine. Well, for most of them, it was fine. But if they have it open and they leave their pro project open, it won't allow it to overwrite or geocode or overwrite. It'll cause schema locks. So our fix to that was creating a parent SDE. We call it our reporting SDE. And that's where instead of it having it in our public viewable database, we have all those layers pushed to that one that no one has access to. And that has, assuming if you don't touch it, it works. If I open a layer in there though, it will and forget to close it, it will fail. Um, Another issue would come into is when you do a lot of this stuff, automation and geocoding, it creates a lot of junk files. So if you don't have a task that goes in, I didn't show it in the presentation, but there's also developed a trash collector, we call it, and it goes and deletes temp files. That way our server doesn't get full, because once the server gets full, it won't run them. But otherwise, I'd say it's a pretty high success rate as long as we're keeping up with it and maintaining it. It's definitely not a forget about case. You have to keep looking at it and maintain it.
Yeah, and the team does a great job. We have a dashboard that helps us view when processes are down, and we're able to just go in and troubleshoot those. Because prior to this, we had an issue with some of the scripts not running earlier on this week. So, but we're better able to figure that out really fast. So, yeah.
All right, we have another question here. How did you decide between the presentation formats, story maps versus experience builder, etc.?
Ah, that's a good question. Well, really, we just went with what seemed seamless to us, and what would be the most efficient way of presenting or telling the story, making it easier for someone that wasn't GIS heavy or IT specialized to be able to look at it and say, hey, this is intuitive, and we know exactly what's going on. So that really factored into our approach as to how we designed it. For things that were easier for council members to look at and say, okay, we see the numbers, we're running with they might be dashing into a meeting and they just wanted to get quick stats. Those were kind of the formats we approached. We're like, okay, make those stats to where they would just look at that and they know exactly what those needed to be without having to deep, really deep into it to figure out exactly what they needed to figure out. So we try to keep it simplified and easy for them. And that's why most of the dashboards we have there, we're just more, the same standardized view to them. That way, they really could extract more information from those. We do have a standardized in-house approach to dashboards, which are a lot more customizable. We have a lot of arcade customization to those. Those are a lot more public facing on our hub, and it's just a lot more work and goes really deep into it where people have to dig in to find what they needed. So for the council dashboards, we try to keep those really simplified. Yeah, hoping that answers your question.
So Richard, I think you might have touched on this a little earlier, but we have a question here. Is the dashboard or portions of the dashboard open to the public?
Yeah, I'd mentioned we're currently working on version 2.0 to do an upgrade to this. So currently, it's still going through that process. We're reviewing it and trying to do a lot of revision to it, focusing on the UI, UX, and how most of the information is presented. But the older version can still be viewed. Actually, you can view it. You can view it via the link on our E6 submission that is on the GPN website. So that's been there, and yeah, anyone can access that. But that's the older version. Once we have version 2.0 ready, that will be hosted on Open Data Hub.
All right. Do you have any suggestions on trying to get more departments within the city to utilize dashboards? Our attendee says that they have found that there are times where applications may seem too intimidating for end users to the point where they might not want to use it.
That is correct. That is correct. And this is why we tried, really hard because at the initial get-go, the team we designed, we put in a lot of design effort into the dashboards. And when we presented it to council, they'll go through it and we're like, well, we're kind of confused. We don't know what we're looking at. And I'll come back to the team and I'll be like, well, we have to make it as clean as possible. And they're like, well, we put in a lot of work to design it. I was like, yes, I know, but we're not designing it for our use. We're designing it for council. That way they can extract the information they needed. So we try to keep it as clean as possible, make it, that way it wasn't, having things there that would confuse people. So that's, I believe, a starting point, if you ask me. Keep it as plain as possible. That way they can easily look at it. It's really intuitive for them. They can look at it and say, okay, this is telling me exactly what I need to know. And if you can do that, I think that's a good selling point. Because as I've mentioned, through this is, that buy-in is a very, very plays an important role. Yeah, and that's what you need. Whoever's running GIS in the organization, getting that organizational buy-in is key. And how do you start that? Well, you start little by showing them what GIS tools can provide, the solutions GIS tool can provide. And you want to make it as basic as possible. And then once they are more aware, or at least user-friendly with most of that and understand what's going on, then you can do a lot more with it. But at the initial stage, just start, simple and clean. That would be my recommendation.
All right, last question here, which I think is actually a good segue. What advice would you give other organizations about whether or not to apply for the eSig?
Aha. Please do. I know this is the last of this eSig webinar series. Please do apply because it helps showcase a lot of the work that the different municipalities are doing to help support. And moreover, you're supporting the geospatial community by, showcasing the work that you're doing. So yes, we do want you applying. First, highlights the work your organization is doing. Second, you're supporting the geospatial community, giving us insights, giving us innovative ideas as to how we can better serve our constituents. So please do apply. Yes.
As y'all see, Danielle's put a link in the chat and a note. If you are interested in learning more about the eSig, you can visit GPN's website. Applications are due June 1st. Guys, I just want to say thank you. I want to echo some of the comments in the chat. Congratulations, not only on this award, but truly a huge accomplishment with creating, a centralized repository, so to speak, of information and data visualizations for your city. Just a job well done.
Thank you. Thank you, Kristen. And I saw Rachel's post as well. What's next? Well, Rachel, there's a lot. There's a lot coming out the pipeline. AI integrations, especially I'm looking forward to Esri's release of, well, they just released the Java SDK aspect of things. They're also looking at releasing Data Explorer as well, the Data Explorer app, which we are going to be migrating a lot of our apps to because it has the built-in AI and LLM models as well. And we serve at least a lot of our constituents are dual language speakers. So we want to be able to make sure most of our apps that we're pushing out that are public facing, they can interact with and at least you can do the translation just fine for them. So lots coming up in the back end. But thank you so much, Kristen. And thanks everyone for attending.
All right, just a quick couple things I want to share. I think I need to grab control.
Michael, could you stop sharing? Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. So a couple upcoming events that we would like to share with you. As you've heard, this is our last in the eSig Award Series, but we do have some upcoming events. So April 22nd, next week, we've got a workshop with Martha Wells, Beyond Address Assignment. So building a modern address management program. This is a fantastic program. So check this out. We've got a couple more webinars, including innovative AI models for the forecasting, monitoring, and warning of hazard events on the 23rd of April, as well as our GIS leadership series, building organizational capacity on May 7th. We have our GISP virtual exam study session on May 8th. Another webinar for smart zoning using the elevation and wetlands to prevent flood damage on May 15th. Then we're going to have some candid conversations. Again, another session of our GIS leadership series on May 28th. And of course, programs, the GIS Leadership Academy, we have several offerings this year. Our first in-person offering is in June in Boise, Idaho. We're also going to have a virtual offering in August. Not on the screen, but worth mentioning is the second in-person offering, which will be in December in Nashville, Tennessee. And then if you have already attended the GLA, we have an advanced GLA. So you can take a deeper dive into more topics, and that is going to be held in October in San Diego. You want to check out our annual GIS Pro Conference in partnership with the Wisconsin Land Information Association. That's going to be in October in Milwaukee. And last but not least, just wanted to tout the GPN Learning Annex. So again, this webinar is being recorded and will be available there, but there's many other webinars and workshops for you to learn and take a deeper dive on. The website's there. You can scan the QR code or visit thegpn.org for more information. And if you're interested in learning how you can join GPN, again, check out the website. And if you have any questions, I know certainly you can reach out to me. I can direct you to anyone who may be able to answer those. So thank you all for your attendance today. Again, a huge congratulations to the team at Midland, Texas. Fantastic work. We appreciate your time sharing all of the behind the scenes.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
All right, y'all take care, and we'll see you at the next GPN event.